Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage our Master of Ceremony, John Acton.
Good morning, everybody. Wow is the only way I could describe yesterday evening. What a great venue, absolutely amazing, I loved it. I've never seen so many different creative uses of palettes in my life as the last 24 hours. If you want to buy a copy of Stefan's book, which is 1,000 different ways to use a palette, he's signing them later on. So, no, it was great food, great drink, great company. It was a great evening. So yesterday, I thought it was fantastic. We had two great plenary panel discussions in here on AI and on warehouse automation. I thought they were fantastic, very illuminating. We had 6 amazing workshops, very engaging, 6 great retailer stories, and of course the whole buzz out there was quite phenomenal in the exhibition with lots and lots of one-to-ones, so that was great. Can I remind all the retailers in the room to take a moment and go to app.deliver.events and vote for your preferred candidates to win these awards. The awards will be presented later on by Ernst Hustra. Later this afternoon. We close the voting at 1 o'clock. So that would be great. So today, in a moment, I'll introduce the first plenary session on smart transportation. The second one we'll be closing this afternoon will be on the future of retail. You really don't want to miss that. Again, today we have 4 workshops and we have 4 retailer journeys, so please get involved. They're all great topics and very relevant. And don't forget, come back in here later on this afternoon for the award presentation. Okay, I'd now like to introduce you to the first keynote speaker of today, which is Daniel Buczkowski, Head of Expansion Europe at Uber Freight. Daniel. Now, I just have a couple of questions for you, just to get us all warmed up.
All right.
So, if you're throwing a dinner party, what's your specialty signature dish?
I'd go with a spaghetti bolognese. Yeah.
That's a safe choice.
Yeah,
that's a good choice. Right, when you passed your driving test, what was your first car you owned?
My last name doesn't say, but I'm German, so I had to obviously stick with the German brand.
Okay,
it was
which
a
one?
BMW.
BMW,
Old
good,
BMW.
Good pick. Right, now what's your favorite sports team?
I love NBA, I love basketball, so I'm rooting for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Milwaukee Bucks, are they any good?
They are good, yeah.
Okay, that's cool, I've never heard of them. All right, what was your first job?
First job, I mean, we can go all the way back, and I think I was working in a bakery, moving around heavy baskets of bread and hard work.
So logistics?
Logistics of bread.
In a certain way, right. And finally, what advice would you give yourself when you were 16 if you could?
Patience.
To be patient.
To be patient.
Excellent.
Right.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone here in Lisbon. My name is Daniel Buczkowski. I'm the head of expansion for Uber Freight here in Europe. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you a little bit about how Uber sees and contributes to the future of logistics. Whilst this may not be necessarily last mile, as we're focusing on full truckload, I think there are a lot of interesting concepts in here that many of you can think about and talk about hopefully after the presentation. When I say Uber, I think instantly a lot of people think about Uber as the ride-sharing app. You tap a button, you get a ride. Many of you probably have used Uber in one way or another as part of this conference, and if you haven't, please do. It's magical. And in 2009, we started ride-sharing, that's right. And after that, we actually started to experience with new modes. We saw that it's not just ride-sharing, it's actually a network of opportunities, and with that, we had Uber Eats born. So we started to move people, then we started to move food, and then we've seen that there is so many more opportunities to think about that. One of them is micromobility. If you're going into the center of Lisbon, make sure to check out jump bikes. It's self-driving technology, and it's also Uber Freight, of course. And if we take a step back, all of the elements that we're talking about here have one thing in common, which is Uber is connecting the physical with the digital. It is an intersection that is incredibly hard to get right, and this is something I'd like to take you on a journey on to explore even further. If you've listened very closely to me, I also mentioned self-driving technology. Whilst today I'm here to talk about Uber Freight, We at Uber are also investing a lot of time and energy into bringing self-driving technology to the Uber network in order to make moving people and goods safer, more efficient, and more affordable in the future. We have an amazing panel right after this presentation that will go into much more depth on that topic, and I'll take you on a journey around digitization of logistics, which is a huge challenge that we're undertaking. And in order to appreciate the challenge, I think we sometimes have to take a step back and realize that logistics is obviously an incredibly large market. It's an $8 trillion market, and trucking and road freight logistics in particular is a $400 billion market in Europe. And if we think about it, that 30% of logistics spent in Europe is roughly on trucking. So huge opportunity where we can create value. But trucking faces deeply rooted challenges. And we at Uber Freight think that these challenges are incredibly exciting because they urge us to think about ways to add value. Thinking about carriers and drivers. I've read a statistic the other day that 2/3 of German carriers will retire in the next 15 years. That is an astonishing number of carriers retiring. And there's not enough new drivers coming up because the vocation of being a truck driver is potentially in a strong economy not as interesting anymore. The effects of that is that shippers are seeing increasing prices. Many of you shipping goods, and obviously prices are closely related to the capacity in the market. And all of that combined also has its toll and its effect on the ecosystem. These inefficiencies that we're creating with the lack of drivers and lagging use of technology also pay a toll on that. 21% of trucks today on the road are empty. So if you're driving on a highway, every 5th truck you're passing doesn't have any goods in it. Yeah. So what can we do about it? And the answer to this is not simple. It's not black and white. There's many solutions to think about it. But if we think about how we're doing logistics today, it's actually still relatively manual. Paper, fax, phone, it can take up to 2 hours to source capacity. And how can we get away from that? How can we use technology to go down to the root cause and enable a fully connected digital network? Or in other words, how can we make moving goods as simple as you opening your Uber app and tapping a button and ordering a ride? I want to show you something, so if we could play the video, please. Not sure I can do this from here.
Well, here at Land O'Lakes, our vision is to feed human progress. How do we apply the technology and innovation that exists today into the agricultural space?
We think that Uber Freight really is at the front of the curve in terms of solving the technology piece. 2, 3, 4 years down the road, this could very much be the way the entire industry needs to operate in order to compete.
And so us partnering with them allows us to become more of a technology and innovation company.
So Land O'Lakes is one of our strategic partners in the US, and it is one of the shippers that is embracing technology to improve their supply chain. And I wanted to go into a couple of elements that we've seen in the video. And again, there's an Uber Freight logo on here, but it's important to understand the general underlying drivers that I think can transversally apply. So what have we seen? We have actually seen the app. And at the heart of logistics, at least for Uber Freight, is the trucking community and drivers. We want to make it as simple at the tap of a button to enable them to see upfront pricing, to have the marketplace right in front of them, and to be able to book loads as easy as we're seeing here. And this on-demand access to a marketplace enables use cases that are very unique. For example, 27% of loads booked on the Uber Freight platform are actually booked after hours. 20 to 25% of loads are booked within the first 30 minutes. This is truly on demand. You open the app as a carrier, you see a load that works for you, you can make an informed decision and book that. But solving these deeply rooted inefficiencies, economics is just one of the aspects. But there's also a much more important aspect, which is the human element. There are human needs that are really, really important in order to make the vocation of being a truck driver more interesting. That's obviously the ability to book loads whenever you want, but also having 24/7 support when something's not going right. Or, for example, having payments on time. The average time to get paid as a carrier today is between 30 to 45 days. That's a huge gap that requires cash flow that small to medium-sized carriers may not have. And in fact, what that happens is they have a tough time competing on the market. But let's talk about the other side of the marketplace. Many of you move things, and when I would ask you what the things are that are important to you, I hope that I would hear things such as transparency, flexibility, attractive prices. And this is exactly what we're trying to do on the other side of the marketplace for our shippers. We call that Shipper Platform. Here, we give you at the tap of the button, similarly to the driver side, access to a vast marketplace and capacity in real time. And it features things such as price forecasting. Many of you have probably booked travel in your private time, and you've used probably price comparisons, and you were able to play around and say, hey, if I actually want to go on that day, maybe then I'll have a better price than going on this day. And that flexibility then enables you to make the best decision for the business. There's live tracking. You can see your current and past future shipments in one place. You know where it is. You have real-time statuses. You know exactly who and where the load is. And something that I find incredibly interesting is the Insights dashboard. So how can we make not only operations for carriers and shippers more effective, but also how can we enable them to make informed decisions of how to improve their supply chain? And in this case, for example, we see ratings here. And these ratings refer to facility ratings. Drivers have the ability to rate a facility, and that is then made available to the shipper, and that customer can then make decisions on how to improve operations at a facility. Many of you have probably used Uber, and again, there's a rating system in place, and that way we can make all of us better. Closing the loop on all of that, we talked about a single connected digital network, and we can see if we put everything together, we have customers, we have the carrier app, we have a marketplace at the tap of the button, and we have integrations in various ways that actually create a single and fully connected network. And to close the loop on that, this is powerful, in my opinion. Speaking of closing the loop, many of the businesses that we're operating in, and I'm trying to get to the next slide, but it's not letting me. Ah, there we go. But closing the loop also means that we have to create efficiency. A marketplace like this is built on the foundation of having carriers and customers, and with that, building density, and with that, being able to offer a more reliable service. And if we do that for long enough, that's when the true benefits start kicking in. Every kilometer on the road is more efficient, we have fewer empty kilometers, and hopefully because of that, we're then also able, because we are removing the inefficiencies, to offer a more accurate price for the services. How does that look in reality? So what you're seeing here is actually our network in the United States. And what we can see here, all these bars are carriers dropping off or picking up loads. And this is the concept of density in a picture. We can see, for example, in the middle of the screen, you can see the Texas Triangle, which is where we started. You can see California, you can see New York. And these hubs have full density. And now, as we started, in the beginning, we had a couple of states, and now we're able to service all over 48 states. And you can use technology then also for other things. So we had the unfortunate event of Hurricane Katrina in the United States, and we were able to deploy our technology on demand to have customers who wanted to help in that situation do exactly that. We were able to ship 137 loads with just one Uber Freight representative having an overview of that, and we were able to deliver 4.8 million bottles of water just like that in real time. Now, switching gears a little bit, you've seen a lot about the US, and in March we have announced that we are moving to Europe. And why is that possible? If you're building a global connected network, you can start breaking borders and you can offer your services in other places of the world. I'm excited to tell you that we have officially started operations, and we have moved our very first European load with a company that hopefully many of you know. So exclusively in this room, I can tell you for the very first time that we've moved our very first load in Europe with Heineken, a Dutch iconic brand that puts technology front and center in their supply chain. It's something that I'm incredibly excited about, working alongside a shipper who values that so much and being able to learn together as we start to create value across the industry. To summarize, a global on-demand logistics network brings benefits that go beyond shippers and carriers. They can actually go all the way down to consumers. If we're able to reduce the price of transportation, we're able to also affect prices in stores. And an on-demand logistics network is actually an equalizing force for movers and makers. It's an accelerant to businesses, to business opportunity, and that's what truly gets me excited to get out of bed today. It is starting with the problems first and going down to the root cause what really helps us create solutions, not only in freight but in other businesses that carry tremendous value to society and to these companies. That being said, thank you so much for listening to me, and I wish you a wonderful day here in Lisbon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. That was, and thanks for the scoop on Heineken as well. Very good. Right, pardon me, in my lungs. I'd now like to introduce the panel to moderate. As yesterday, we have Sonia Dowsett, who is a senior correspondent for Reuters in Madrid. And the three panelists. Sonia, please come on stage.
Well, another morning and another very interesting panel, so I'm delighted to welcome our panelists. We've got Hugo from AutoX, which is a US-based self-driving technology company based in the Bay Area. We have Petra from Continental, which started life over 100 years ago as a tire company and is now developing intelligent technologies to take over some driver functions. And we have Zhiyong from ZhenRobotics. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, but I'll plow on anyway, a Beijing-based autonomous robotics firm. So we're going to start this morning's presentations with Petra. Thank you.
So warm welcome from my side. For us, the last mile or the first mile in delivery, the most important thing is customer satisfaction and delivering in time. And we have seen a lot about hardware, robots, and cobots. Was impressive the last 24 hours. And today I'd like to show you my use case, which is more or less software related, how we come through to deliver in time to our customers. But before, I kindly like to ask you to do with me a short exercise. In this room, if I ask you now a question, and if you want to answer that question with yes, please raise your hand. If I ask you, do you think that Continental is a company who develops, produces, and sells radios? Please raise your hand. Okay, one. Thank you very much. Looks we two are the only ones here in the room. So if I would ask you the question, does not work, are we in tire business? Who want to raise the hand with yes? Yeah. So that's good. I do have some figures with me to take you on the journey that you understand more or less the challenge we are dealing daily in our daily life as supply chain manager at Continental. So we are a 44 billion company, and the tire business is 26% of our sales. So more than 60% we are an automotive supplier. So our customers are the big OEs. And if we talk about delivery performance, they think in just in time and just in sequence. And just in sequence is a window of 10 or 15 minutes. You have to bring there your fully loaded truck with all your products at a time of 10 to 15 minutes, with a distance of more than 200 kilometers between you and your customers. So, and out of this, we are working in a very huge supply chain network. I'm responsible for more than 3,000 suppliers every day, and we have hundreds of plants. And in our systems, we have more than 150,000 daily bill of materials, who are running our plants to produce powertrain components, chassis and safety components, radios, car radios, multimedias, and all that stuff. And out of this, we are also a player in the autonomous driving. So we are a competitor to AutoX. We can also sell sensors, actuators that a car can drive autonomous. But as a supply chain manager at Continental, I'm looking forward that our supply chain is running automatically. Okay, so out of this, we have a high risk in our supply chain and on the supplier side, and that's what the use case is due to. So we watch daily the risk in our supply chain from our suppliers. So on the one hand, we're continuously monitoring the capacity from our suppliers. And on the other hand, if a supplier runs into a shortage out of force majeure, an earthquake, then we have to react very fast because he cannot deliver what we need and what we promise to our customers. Think about that most of the semiconductors are sitting in earthquake areas. Don't ask me why, but most of them, 80%, are sitting in an earthquake area, and that is a big risk to us. And if we have such a shortage, we have to react very fast because one supplier part can run into 10,000 end customer products across all our plants. And if a supplier cannot deliver any longer, it would mean that, for example, if we run into such a shortage, that we would jeopardize ourselves. All our plants will arise their call-offs. So in this case, if something like that occurs, my team takes over the control of the whole supply chain for Continental. And we have done that in the past with email, fax, and so on. I think Daniel already also showed it in his presentation, so we're still not paperless in supply chain. And we have had overwork, high fluctuation, no fun in our teams. By today, after 1.5 years project time, we are dealing both the capacity constraints, the risk watching on the capacity side on our suppliers in a cloud-based solution, and we are tracking our allocation management fully automatic in a system where we have by today, after incident, when we get the information from our supplier, I have an earthquake or a flood, or I cannot deliver due to a fire in my plant, we can make out of that 2 hours later an estimate to our customer which part is affected, how long is the range of recovery, and how is our delivery commitment. And that is important in the car manufacturing. How does this look like? For this, I have a video with me.
The supply chain environment is complex, with constraints and risks. Some risks can be caused by geopolitical events, explosion, fire, extreme weather conditions. Above all, human lives are our first priority. But such events can also affect businesses. We at Continental Automotive know that we have to react fast, to assess impacts on the supply chain, to provide information to customers real quick. We used MSM 48-hour, a perfectible allocation process with separate tools and files, with significant manual workload for Continental plants and allocation managers. We now introduce MSM 12-hour, an optimized process with an all-in-one greatly automated tool, enabling first feedback in only 12 hours. MSM 12-hour database combines PAP, PAF, Cripoli. A pre-filled mapping table provides a common understanding of affected Continental and supplier parts. Customer impact is automatically established based on stock, then reviewed with upcoming supplier deliveries. Reports allow demand comparison and supply comparison to spot deviations. Allocation simulation is available with an automated proposal to split quantities. Suppliers provide data necessary to Continental using the new cloud-based VIP supplier portal. In case of force majeure, we are able to identify affected customers and projects, to set up the allocation file, to gather a task force, and provide first feedback to customers within 12 hours. Together, to best serve the customer.
So I was informed that we have 3 artificial intelligence algorithms inside. Yesterday, Stuart introduced us with the question, what is artificial intelligence? I don't know if it is now artificial intelligence or not, but for me it's very important because for us it is a tool which makes our life easier. And that is what I expect from artificial intelligence as a consumer or as a leader in supply chain management. And I hope that the one we show at Continental, not only our internal process makes our life easier, also if we talk about future development in the hardware sector, what we have shown this year on the CES 2019 in Las Vegas, I also hope that out of this, robots or autonomous driving makes our life easier. And I ask you, you're going to raise with me your hand. I hope when we meet next, that you can raise your hand not only like that you can also raise this like these little copays. He can do tremendously with his hand, more than we can do. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in Lisbon. Thanks for coming this morning and listening. Talk a little bit about our company called AutoX. We are an L4 autonomous driving enabler. So why are we doing this? Why are we building autonomous technology? Well, oops. Oh, here we are. Well, there's pretty much a global phenomenon happening, right? There's basically a shortage of labor and projected and also increased labor costs. So, Europe is not on here, but effectively it's actually happening here, as you all know, very significantly. So, and at the same time, consumers, as you all know, really want more deliveries. And in fact, about 40% say if they do not have, deliveries are actually a must-have. One in 5 have actually said that they will switch retailers if delivery is not available. So we think autonomous deliveries are inevitable. People don't drive errands. They don't want to. Oh, these notes are messed up here. But effectively, these are not really synced. Oh well. But one thing is the cost, and then the other thing, here, as you can see, once the deliveries are affordable, they'll actually result in 1.5 to 3 times more purchases. And the other thing, if consumers are happy with the delivery, that will actually result in about 14% increase in their average order value. So what did we do? We actually launched an autonomous delivery service outside of our office in San Jose, California. So if you're based there, you can download our app, and we're actually delivering goods to you autonomously. The company was founded by an individual called Zhiyong Shao, Professor X. He actually was Princeton's former founding director of their computer vision and robotics lab. And then, before that was doing his PhD at MIT in their CCL department. One of basically 2 people to have completed that in under 4 years. So really a genius in when it comes to the technology of autonomous driving. We've been able to hire some great folks from top institutions, OEMs. We've also partnered with the largest Chinese OEM there is, called SAIC. Dongfeng, also the largest commercial OEM, and recently partnered with BYD, the largest electrical vehicle manufacturer. So again, we're an enabler of autonomy, so we enable these are an example of some of the vehicles that we've enabled to drive autonomously. And here on the bottom, you can see some of the use cases. So it could be, fleet operators, delivery companies, smart cities, manufacturing campuses. And just to prove to you that this is actually working, here's a short video of us. This is in downtown Shenzhen, in a very sort of dense urban environment, actually 1.5 times more dense than Shanghai. Here you can see sort of kind of a dynamic, unprotected left turn. This is when it gets more interesting, kind of merging into lanes and oncoming traffic. And again, this is another video of us driving. We're actually the only company able to do this right now in China. Another use case is a factory automation. So this is us driving here in a factory over in China, delivering parts, again, fully autonomously. I'm going to have to speed through the rest because I have about 45 seconds left. So, again, another use case of our technology here in a delivery company on campus in China. And then just to actually prove that this is also safe, this is a video of us avoiding an accident at CES earlier this year in Las Vegas.
Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas opens tomorrow, but we are actually getting a sneak peek at some of the high-tech gadgets and gears, including a self-driving delivery car. NBC4's McCullough Medina live in Las Vegas for us. And Mac, tell us about the close call you had.
Yeah, we did. We nearly got hit by a red light runner while we were inside that car, but as you'll see, the technology worked and the car stopped just in the nick of time. A true testament to the hard work of the company's CEO, who was a former robotics teacher over at Princeton, better known as Professor X.
Wow, somebody rang the line.
Just look at my face as I brace for what is certain impact, a crash. From our cameras following, you can see it is a very close call as that red light runner zooms through. From inside the car, look at the steering wheel. It jerks there, and the car stops as that red light runner barrels through the intersection, zooming past us just a couple of inches away.
This car actually prevented an accident.
I think I'm out of time, so we can skip the technology part. But here you go. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Justin. I'm CEO of ZhenRobotics. It's a great pleasure to be here to give you a talk about our company, our product, and the technology behind. We are the first self-driving delivery robot company in China, and now the industry leader in this area. Now we have around 30 leading customers with different types of products and a variety of scenarios. We have already achieved 5,000 actual real distribution, and the operation interruption rate is less than 1,000th. And we team from Europe, from ETH, from Imperial College, Tsinghua University, and Alibaba. And we are a team with around 50 to 100 engineers. Now I would like to show you the video of our robots. Basically, the robot is able to take parcels, food, and groceries from the store to your home. And you will be just stay at home and waiting for the car, and the robot will arrive and notify the customer. The robot is equipped with LiDAR, camera, radar, and initial measurement units. These sensors help the robot to sense the environment and to avoid collisions in a reliable manner. Yes, the customer just need to order online, and the carrier will pick up the order and place and put the package into the box, into the robot, and the robot will do the journey fully autonomous, and the robot will notify you when it arrives, and you can just use the phone to open the robot. The robot has background music behind. This makes it's much user-friendly. We have clients in several sectors, in e-commerce company, logistics company, food delivery company, high school, campus, and self-store, lots of scenarios. We have different color robots. Blue one, yellow one, white one. Probably in the future, it could be reach 7 colors, just like a rainbow. Our camera, the robot has a camera inside. That means if you want to steal a robot, it will be captured and the police will find you soon. In addition to the delivery robots, smaller one for instant delivery, we have a bigger one, which has 30 cabins for express delivery. The smaller one, the bigger one, we also have a robot which is able to run in the warehouse. It's typically used for self-store. The robots can be used for gardens and help you to move the package as well. In addition to the robots in the warehouse, we also have a collaborative delivery robot, which is able to accompany the postman to follow the road. And this is the semi-autonomous robots. We have autonomous robots and semi-autonomous robots. We have indoor robots and outdoor robots. We have a bigger one and the lighter one. This is the big. This one is is semi-autonomous, and this one is used for self-store. Its the maximum payload is of 120 kilogram. We do the full supply chain by ourselves. I mean, so we do the circuit design, the algorithm, the mechanics, and the self-driving technology and the cloud system. So this means we build almost everything by ourselves except the LiDAR. This provides a very low cost. So if you have requirements of robots, we can provide a very low cost solution. It can work in snow in very dense area, and only 2 weeks for the shipping. We have already in operation for several campers. We provide software for maintenance. Yeah, this is the future of our robot. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your listening. Thanks.
Very much. Right. Well, thanks very much. We can take the panel now. And very interesting examples there on how, I mean, we saw some actual videos showing the robots of how they are being used on, and in real-life situations. Petra, you outlined very well how Continental's technology helps on the supply chain, but taking back a broader look, can you talk a little bit about the reaction of drivers if we're developing intelligent technologies to overtake driver functions? What kind of timeline do you see there with self-driving cars? Will it be a gradual process where just, certain functions will be overtaken at a sort of incremental rate, or will it happen all at once?
So first of all, I'd like to make a difference of these. We have the transportation sector where we see already a lot of things in use cases and in real cases. And on the other hand, where our company is working on the autonomous driving in passenger cars and commercial vehicle, where also your company is in, AutoX. And it's already stepwise implementing. So you have already some assistance systems which helps you in driving by today. And this will come step by step. And if we talk about autonomous driving in the future, that it's fully autonomous and you can read your newspaper, I think that will still take a while. And what I, as a supply chain manager, really consider on is if we talk about these autonomous transportation systems, for us, it is the importance of the last mile, these customer satisfaction, that we really have full transparency about our goods and about that I really deliver at the time the customer expects, because this is important to me. If I look on the passenger car side, and we all like to drive autonomous, then we also like to be in a very safe environment. And I think that will be still a challenge for the industry. They all work on that. The technique is available. But I think that we go that next steps on, let's say, level 5, so-called.
Level 5 is the fully automated
Fully
car.
automated, and you can read your newspaper. We believe that this will happen in the future. And not only that, we believe as a company that this will happen because we work on that. Several things are already in place. LiDAR systems, radar system. You have already a full surrounding picture. As a car, you can already have a full surrounding picture about the environmental. So the technique is there. We can go this way. And we, as Continental, we are working that, or what is our motivation, I have to say that. We want to have a zero accident. So zero emission, that's clear. Everybody knows that out of the discussion the last months with these CO2 and a diesel topic. So we want to have zero emission. We want to have always on, connected, car to infrastructure, car to driver, and zero accident. And I think that is the highest motivation we can have to work on these autonomous driving, to have zero accident. And if we can provide zero accident, then it will be very fast implemented.
Interesting. Zhiyong, we saw some fascinating videos there of the delighted consumer receiving her goods through the robot. We have the perception here in Europe that the Chinese consumer is highly sophisticated and perhaps more open to these kinds of delivery options. Can you talk a little bit about that, what you see, your perception there? Somebody who has lived in Europe and China.
The difference is in China, the market is very huge and increase year by year. And it will increase around the 10 billion package for this year. It's only 15 billion last year and 16 billion this year. So the package, the amount of package increased a lot. And the requirement of delivery man increased a lot. The requirement is 5 million delivery man in the future, but now we have only 3 million. At the same time, the shortage of young men is a big problem. The people aged at 20 to 25 only account for 15% for the delivery man. That means in the future, there will be a big lack of delivery man. Therefore, there is a structural opportunity for China to own the delivery robot.
So we're talking about a mixture of demographics, an aging population, and a huge explosion in things being delivered. So in a way, there's no option but to look for these kinds of solutions. I mean, that's a very interesting perspective.
Yes.
Hugo, I mean, you're based in the US. This is a country that was developed for the car. You know, cities like LA, whatever, were built for cars. Now we're entering a new era where we're trying to match this 20th century infrastructure with these new technologies, new ways of delivering, new ways eventually of self-driving cars. What role do you think government plays in allowing these new technologies to seamlessly dovetail with old infrastructure?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, definitely governments play a huge role. But if you think about it, you know, it's very much, you know, this is probably the single largest, you know, technological revolution, you know, since the internet, you know, arguably even the smartphone. And so it's a massive undertaking, and it's, you know, the sort of impacts this will have on multiple industries is massive, right? And so it's almost difficult to get your head around sometimes. And so you know, because of this sort of you know, massive undertaking, sort of cultural shift, there's a lot of things in addition to government need to happen, right? So it's obviously the software, which we're focusing on, and this is kind of applies to the industry as a whole. But it's the software, it's the hardware, you know, it's the government, you know, regulations, the regulatory environment, sort of public policy.
Is the government receptive to putting those changes in place? Do you find that? Have they got their own, you know, working groups to develop working relationships with people like
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, we kind of do that across the globe. We know manage the relationships with regulatory folks, and but it's really going to take, you know, the right team to kind of, you know, do that, manage the hardware, manage the software, and kind of, you know, all solve all of these problems simultaneously.
And Zhiyong, when you talk about, can you talk a little bit about the challenges facing you when you implement these kinds of systems? What are the main challenges?
Yeah, actually there are lots of challenges. For example, we have to seek collaborations with big clients. You know, we are small mounts, they are big elephants. If mounts dance with elephants, is you know, we are very fast and they are very slow. So this is one kind of challenge. And another thing is we have already used the robots in real case. That means we have to deal with the maintenance. So therefore, we do a lot of system to manipulate these cases, corner cases. We use robots to manage. We use machine in cloud to manage thousands of robots. We do not use human to manage robots. And in case the robot has some problem, and the most of the cases it will deal with the problem by itself. And if the robot cannot deal with these cases by themselves, it will send the message to us or leave the last message to us to give us a signal to find them. And we have to team to deal with this problem, but the iteration rate is really low. But as the e-commerce, there is some corner case we have to deal with. We believe the most important thing for the delivery robot is the interruption rate. We are doing a lot of work to improve to decrease the rate.
Well, thank you. Fascinating insights and great to get reports back from the coalface, as it were. Thank you very much indeed. A round of applause, please, to our panel.